Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of MBTV News. Uh, what more can I say? This is where we deliver news highlights for the week ending the 19th of June, and with regard to virtual worlds and immersive spaces, largely online. We don't use the M word, that is forbidden. And until the current one expires and Lord Zuckerberg disappears, but we sometimes slip. Put it that way, right? Okay, virtual worlds, immersive spaces, and so on and so forth. And this is all the news we have for you. We look at a little bit at haptic devices and interfacing for virtual reality and things too, but things that are sort of on the tangents of what we cover anyway. So, without further ado, I will introduce myself. My name is Mal. First word, Burns. Second word, Mal Burns. But I'm squashed. Yeah, well, the web. It squashes everything, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not a compression or logarithm. It is just a simple squashing exercise. So if you want to find me on Twitter, for example, which you're going to want to, you have to go to twitter.com/ and then MALBURNS, all one word. Or you can even try twitter.com/ Metaworld News, 2 words in one, yet again, because that's where you can find endless links to the very stuff I'm going to be talking about here. Basically, that is. And obviously we can get so many highlights and things on the show here. So if all this stuff is of interest to you, you'll find a hell of a lot more to click on and read if you follow me on Twitter. So a hint there. Oh, and while I'm mentioning that, when I actually point out various news articles, normally the URLs that I read out to you, the ones that I can read out to you anyway, are actually going to the website, not the actual page. So if you follow what I say, you'll get to a homepage, but not necessarily the article you're after. So obviously a very good habit to read my Twitter feed, because if you click the links there, you get to the exact page where the article is. Yes, Twitter, it is so darn clever. Don't know how it does it, really. But that's the magic. That is the magic at work. So, twitter.com/ Mal Burns. Now, stop talking about myself for a while. I introduce my colleague here at the desk. It's none other than James Atlloud. Welcome, James.
Well, thank you, Mal. It's Father's Day in the United States. I don't know if you have that
Oh,
Hallmark holiday in the UK, but so I've wished a happy Father's Day to my father, and
oh,
my sons have wished me, and my daughter have wished me a
yeah,
happy Father's Day. Yeah, yay
oh,
for
very good.
fathers, right?
We do have Father's Day, though.
Uh,
I haven't a clue whether that it is today or a different day of the year or whatever.
okay.
I had seen it in passing, but that's because I'm on the international web, so it's obviously
Mm-hmm.
the American things I see. But no, we do have it here. I mean, it's sort of sons and daughters send daddy little presents and stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
A wallet or something like that. So you see these adverts for suggestions for Father's Day. It's never like big Christmas
Right,
big
right.
presents. They're just token presents, but useful ones.
Well, it's
We have a
something.
Mother's Day too as well, which is
Okay.
makes perfect sense.
It's something my friends all call a Hallmark holiday because of the Hallmark greeting card company.
Oh, right, okay, yes,
So
that
it's
figures.
a
Yeah,
holiday manufactured to sell greeting cards.
well, exactly. Well, sell anything really. Sell, sell, sell.
Right, right.
Philip Rose does words of wisdom this week, which I've actually said myself in different words before. Actually, was that isn't it about time we stop treating money and currency as a commodity
Hmm.
in itself? If you see what I mean, because we do. We treat
Right.
uh, we treat money as a commodity. So it's like you collect money like you collect books and things,
Right.
and trade with it. But it's no longer a measure, a trading unit as such, because it can't be a commodity in itself and be a method of trade and barter. If you see it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, I do
it's
see.
a bit complicated. So money, if we stop treating it as a commodity and isolated from actual commodities, then commodity prices may change, but the money would be much more stable.
Yeah, yeah. Treating money
Unless,
as an ends in itself.
yeah,
Yep.
Unless, of course, it's Bitcoin or any of the other cryptocurrencies, all of which are
Right, right.
crashing. And the funniest thing is, somebody opened up a Nasdaq, um, um, it's a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency wall or something during the week, and I thought, what timing when all the cryptocurrencies are crashing
Mhm.
like mad?
Yeah.
They're opening up a sort of section of Nasdaq for it. I don't go figure. People are mad. They really are.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't know much about that stuff, so I better not comment too much. It all just seems very silly to me. Just another excuse to rip people off who don't know what's going on.
Yep.
Anyway, so well, we're on our diversions already, and we are live. I better be careful. I remember what happened last week. I think
Oh yeah. Yep.
I forgot we were live and went
I
off on
I
it.
I do what I can.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, also welcome to the studio. I don't know who's got a camera on it, but we've had a lovely little bunny
Oh
rabbit
yeah.
hopping around here for a while. I think he's male. I'm assuming he's male because of the way he treats my new pet, who's a lovely little pretty cat. And she, well, every few minutes he turns around and hops over to her. And if he's lucky, she will get on her hind legs and, rub herself on his chest. But then he scarpers. There they are. See, they're meeting now. Anyway, just a diversion. If I go off air or anything, I will let James film the pets for you until I get back.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I see them there. Yeah, just giving you ideas now. On the other hand, if I'm being interested, don't let the cat fool you.
Right.
Oh, they are funny. They're
As
very
cats like to
lively.
do.
They're very lively, which is nice in, considering like us, they're just avatars.
Yep.
They're more lively than my avatar, that's for sure. Here, anyway. Right, okay. So our studio here is in OpenSim, by the way, which is definitely our preferred virtual world, full of immersive spaces. It's a distant cousin of the well-known Second Life. It can use the same viewer, and it looks a lot the same, though the back end tends to be very, very different these days. But it's our preferred one, which is where we do all this stuff from. And yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff like Pussycats. Yeah. We do cover the other worlds too, but this we cover OpenSim a lot here too. Anyway, on my screen or on your screen, courtesy of James, from my desktop, in fact. Oh, I forgot to mention that James is also the one fiddling the knobs, and which means he's changing views from my desktop to my avatar to the Pussycats and all the rest of it. So he's working the magic and audio, of course, behind the scenes. So
Yeah. Yep.
what he's showing you now, or in a second, is my desktop where I have a slide open. Except it's not a slide; it's a still frame from the beginning of a video. Oh, so this is so confusing. This is right. Okay, this is about Nreal Light. Light being the LIGHT name. Nreal are a new pair of virtual reality or augmented reality kind of glasses. They've been around a while, but they've only just arrived in the last week or so here in Britain. I'm not even sure they're actually in America yet. I just thought they were. But anyway, they do seem to be rather nifty. They're the closest thing yet I've seen to something I might want to buy and wear for the convenience factor. They're probably still a little clunky, but they're no longer a helmet and they're not even a headset. They are actually genuine sort of glasses. And well, we'll watch this and you'll find out a little bit more about it. I thought it was interesting. So let's start off with this piece, just over a minute or so.
This is the Nreal Light.
Unreal Light.
The Nreal Lights. Nreal Light.
This is the Nreal Light.
The Nreal Light.
When I first tried these Nreal Light glasses, they're light enough to throw in your bag.
I mean, going and laying in bed and just flicking a big screen up on the ceiling, it is really cool.
It's easy to take them with you anywhere you want, like here on the... Plus, it didn't fall off my face, even with my tiny nose.
You can pretty much, like I said, do anything that your phone is capable of.
And they do give you these bright, crisp visuals overlaid on the real world.
Quite impressed by how sharp this video looked.
By tethering it to your phone, you can augment virtual objects on your real environment, and it even allows you to walk around it naturally.
The closest to a practical consumer product I've seen.
This is the first augmented reality headset for consumers.
There's also some pretty cool tech in this tiny little thing.
And Real Light for taking one of the first and significant steps into this AR future with this product.
You're going to be able to jump for the first time in a real AR experience at home.
I mean a big event. More than 60 people, hundreds of people, thousands of people. When you have an event that large in Somnium Web, your crowd gets broken up into overflow instances. 60 people in each instance. But let's say you have a VIP, like somebody trying to break the freestyle rap record, for example. And you need your VIP to be seen and heard across all of the instances, as if they were in every single one of them. That's where the new event mode and event manager menu will help you out. It lets you specify the users you wish to be VIPs. Your VIPs will be seen and heard across all of the instances, including their emojis, as if they were in the overflow instances themselves. Putting your parcel into event mode also makes all chat global, so your VIPs can see what other people are saying and interact with the crowd. To turn on event mode, the first thing you have to do is go to your parcel in Somnium Web and have your VIPs come also. It's important that you both log in because only logged in users can be marked as VIPs. While on your parcel, go to the Somnium Web menu and click the new Event Manager button. This will show you a list of all logged in users that are on your parcel, and you can click the Add VIP button next to the people you want to be VIPs. Then click Save. And that's it. Your parcel is now in event mode. You can conduct your event as normal with confidence that people in overflow instances aren't missing the show. You can tell who the VIPs are by the special glowing indicator around their feet in the world. When your event has concluded and everybody has gone home, just return to the Event Manager menu and click End Event. This will take your parcel out of event mode and return everything back to normal. If you need any more help, just let us know in the Somnium Space Discord, and we'll see you on the other side of the monitor.
Well, the giveaway with the web version of just Somnium, the menus are clearly authored in Unity. It's got that very default look. And I should say that I don't know about specifying the VIPs from the regular punters or whatever, but this process of whatever he called it, is actually known in the business as sharding. And this is simply a way that you can make sure the VIPs, like say a performer or something, will appear in every shard, whereas guests logging in will fill up a shard and then they'll be moved to another shard, etc. Which is actually, I've always pointed out, this is actually very awkward if you like going into virtuality or virtual spaces, virtual worlds, with friends. Even Sciencebase, who are great friends of ours, have a similar problem when they're sharding, and that is you can log in at the same time with a friend of yours, but if it's the luck of the draw, you may end up on one shard, they may end up on another shard. And although you both see the same events and the same build, you're not actually on. It's like being on a different region in another kind of world. You can't chat to them. They're not next door to you anymore. You know, it's okay if you're chatting in some back channel away from the world, but that is the big problem with sharding. Fortunately, people can use things like Discord for sort of really hundreds of people, allowing them to be in different shards, but still be able to communicate, in another program en masse, so to speak. It's kind of simulcast, really, being on Discord and being in the virtual world at once. Anyway, Somnium Space is a newish thing. I haven't paid too much attention to it. I think they're involved with a lot of blockchain, and we all know where that's going down the toilets at the moment, according to my information. But that was particularly interesting because that was filmed, and indeed it's been promoted here as Somnium Space Web. So this is a version you can actually run in your web browser, which is all well and good. So moving on, another system for building virtual worlds on the web is called Frame, and this is a little couple of minutes introducing their beta number 4. Okay, so there we had it, a frame in that case. There's an awful lot of these worlds now coming along on the web. Lots of them look very similar. Coming up in a second, as you can probably see, the next clip is all about Engage, which is one of the seriously good ones, actually. Well, we'll have to see how a lot of them pan out. When it comes to cryptocurrencies and Somnium Space and doing a lot of those other things, we'll have to see how they pan out, because I'm not sure any of that kind of cryptocurrency and blockchain model is really going to last in the long term. But I may be wrong. We may see. But maybe we'll do more of this on this channel, if not this actual show, because quite frankly, as a few weeks ago, Nara Malone showed us, we can actually put these embedded web worlds onto giant screens in OpenSim here, or indeed Second Life, and we can walk from one world into another. It's an illusion, of course, but what we do is we're moving from an actual model 3D simulation into a screen which has another simulation within it. And once you walk in and get closer and closer, as the screen takes up your whole screen, you don't actually realize you're actually viewing it from back in the other simulation. So there's quite a few possibilities as to what, if the quality is good enough and the tools are good enough, we can actually start doing with web worlds, but operating them from within the worlds we like the various OpenSim grids, or even maybe Second Life or something like that, or Science Base. So anyway, the next clip is actually about Engage, which they've actually launched. This is the first look at Engage Link, it's called. And basically it's what they're calling their professional metaverse, although to be honest, educators and a lot of professionals have been using them for that very reason already. But well, fair's fair. Why, if they want to have a new thing, let them have a new thing. Here it is.
Hello and welcome to Engage. I am so excited today to introduce you to the culmination of 8 years of development and the most spectacular thing Engage has ever created on the platform. Welcome to Engage Link, a collection of linked persistent spaces designed specifically for enterprise, educational, and creative entities to have their presence on the metaverse. This particular location is known as Central Plaza, which serves as a jumping off point to the rest of our meta worlds. It's here that you can meet up with friends to begin your exploration, hang out with business associates, or even attend events. To go from here to any of our other meta worlds is as simple as walking through one of our many portals. You may have guessed by the live stock ticker above my head that we are now in the Enterprise Plaza, designed for forward-thinking businesses and enterprises ready to make that leap into the metaverse. Users can have direct access to your business meta world by simply walking through the portals located here, or via our direct deep link system, which can be shared via your own company website. Working with our development team, we can create fantastic environments for your company that reflect your company culture, values, products, and services. We know, having worked with multiple enterprise clients over the years, that security is of utmost importance. You will be glad to know that we are ISO 27001 security certified and in full GDPR compliance. MetaWorlds can be used for customer outreach, product launches, training and development, and so much more. If your business needs a metaverse strategy, please come and talk to us, and we'll be happy to get you set up. Here we are in Education Plaza. It's here that we are working with some of the world's leading educational institutions and businesses. This is one of my favorite hubs because I know these institutions have been building educational content over this last year that is fantastic to interact with. With multiple metaversities being set up on the Engage platform, Engage Plaza is a great way to get that information and request access to courses from clients directly. Imagine live educational presentations being given in this plaza, or visiting the educational content of each of these entities by entering their private portals to visit their meta worlds. This is a fantastic gateway to explore great educational content. Welcome to the Apartment Plaza. Engage Link is not just for businesses. You can register for an account and receive your own personal metaverse apartment. And because we're in VR, everybody gets that penthouse apartment on the top floor of these buildings behind me. This is an opportunity to have friends and family over to socialize, hang out, watch movies, and have a great time. Let's head on up and see what that looks like. Welcome to your penthouse apartment in the sky. You can see the apartment plaza that we just came from down below. And in here we have a very open space that allows users to design the apartment as they see fit for various use cases. In my case, I've decided to bring in palm trees, lighting effects, special effects up in the ceiling. You can also control the video screen by simply clicking the button on the wall over here, which takes the video screen up and down, and we can change the aesthetic of the apartment from a lighter color to a darker marble as desired. We will have other options moving into the future. We also have a back area here in which we can set up your own personal portals to take you to your favorite spots in the metaverse. In this case, I have portals that take us to the back down to the apartment plaza or to the central plaza. We have a second level up above in which we can hang various types of art and place sculptures. Over here, you can see that we've got an elevator. I'm going to go ahead and press this. This elevator takes us up to the simulation room in which we can launch various activities. And here we are. In this space on the second floor is our simulation room in which we can launch various activities. And as you can see, we have many exciting places for you all to explore. To learn more about Engage Link, please visit us at www.engagevr.io. We look forward to seeing you all soon.
Well, I like that. It's all sort of stylized, but a lot of variety within that. And I think back to the early days of Second Life, and the only thing they don't really tell you there is how, for example, you would decorate that apartment. Do they sell you pre-made things, or can you import things that you've bought on 3D object stores? Or are there any building tools in the world? They left all that out, but on the other hand, they do seem to have a grip on the idea of inhabiting the entire world, rather than the previous versions have just had an educational or like conference center, whereas this goes the whole way. You've got your apartment, you've got a holodeck to visit your own stuff, and then you've got all the places you can go to as well.
Yeah.
And
On that topic, though, I heard him say put portals in your apartment to the metaverse, and I think you can still only go to the Engage metaverse. You can't go to the entire metaverse.
Yeah, I'm quite sure. But the implication is there is a lot there, and if they get a lot of customers, I mean, like Second Life, you can go anywhere at the beginning, and you could walk the whole grid. OpenSim, of course, is different because it's multiple sims, but yeah, I completely agree. It is, I think, another walled garden at the moment, but they do. All I can say is they appear to have this sensibility of all the possibilities where you mix business with social, and have things within the world and enjoy with friends. So they might actually be quite successful. They don't They don't seem to be on mobile at the moment, but as you can see at the bottom here, you can get them on the Chromebook, on the Mac desktop, on Android, Windows, Pico 5, and well, they seem to be chopped off the edge there. Not surprisingly, something called Meta, but you know, it's available in a whole load of places there. Not I presume if it's on Android, you can use it on a phone or any Android phone, although you can use it on Apple OS, you can't on iOS, so it's a bit different. But I've, even before this, I've been a sort of fan of Engage. I mean, when I think of Sciencebase, they're friends of ours too, bit of similarities there, but they're a walled garden in a sense too, even though they're working on open interoperability. You know, their core business of their own is still a walled garden. So I think the difference, especially when I think of Adam and Sciencebase, is that they, in their minds, the gate is open. Or, you know, it may be a walled garden at the moment, but there's nothing to say they can't put a door in it at some future point if that becomes a requirement of travelling around the M-word place. But anyway, I thought that was fun. So before we can move on to web pages or something, just because it's here, really, I'm going to play 1 minute 20 of a rather nice video, which I think it just says resolution here for me rather than the title. But I'm pretty sure this clip was done somewhere here in OpenSim on the hypergrid. So we will see. I hope it was anyway.
Then you're going to have a really interesting situation. And I know it sounds absolutely awful, but it might be the government that this company produced.
Right, okay. Well, I said it was going to be short. There's one other clip here, but this is a 20-minute piece or something that I still got loaded. This is one that was with Bloomberg talking at the money markets or whatever, and had Brad Oberman, who's the CEO these days of, well, not Second Life, it's Linden Lamb, the parent company. And he's proven to be a very sort of good speaker, actually, for somebody who's just come into it. He really does fit naturally into the sort of a chatty environments or whatever. But that will, I'll keep it loaded here in case we want to, but that will really be coming back for another day on that one, I think, or elsewhere is probably more appropriate. So for the moment, we're gonna I don't tend to love it when you get the beach ball thing. There we are. Okay, and we have a few videos later which aren't offline. They're actually embedded videos on the my Mastodon feed, and hence they're on Twitter. So we're going to go through the stuff on the actual web now for this week and run through this fairly quickly, I suppose. Okay, starting. I'm in a very jumbled up order this week. I loaded the links back to front, so I'm going to go down to the earliest one of the week, which is the same one that is always the earliest one of the week, and I'm going to work my way up instead of work my way down the list. But you won't know that, hopefully, because you'll just see what I give you. Right, yes. You take what I give you. Don't argue. That's what I say. Anyway, the Scar Ghost. Cue the music. Oh, God, I think you scared the cat. Never mind. Look at him. He's stood up. He's walking around now. Never mind. Yeah, poor thing. Right. Okay. The wolf. It's okay, the rabbit, but the wolf, come on. He doesn't like that. Right. Tony Portillo is actually the chap who writes this blog, and he's back in his native Italy in Turin, having come back from Ore and working on new projects as well as his blog here with a good old Vroom. I don't know whether you remember Vroom. We used to feature their blog an awful lot for news, but
you want that music too?
No, because they don't exist in that form anymore.
Right.
They're now the events department, as it were. Yes, I've forgotten we had it. Well, we can play Vroom if you want. There we are, folks. That is our tribute to the late lamented Vroom.
Right.
and may it rest in peace. Especially with a noise like that. I think they crashed a motorbike. Right. Anyway, this is a roundup of his the news from his point of view in the week. But of course, this comes out on Mondays. It was June the 13th, so he's actually rounding up news from the week before. I mention this every week because it is a great read, and also tomorrow, which we're on the 19th of June, which is a Sunday. But by tomorrow, it will be Monday, and you'll actually find, if you go to scarghost.com, you'll get a new one. Same title, but for the new week, so to speak. So that's SKARREDGHOST.com. And that is certainly one of the sites you can just go to the main site, and everything you need is accessible, including this article. He has a lot of very good articles there, I hasten to add. So we'll put this one away. And something else we'll deal with now. This is the website of the Omni Group, of which I'm a proud member. Yes, indeed. Right. OMIGROUP.org. And this week we've celebrated 1 year of the Open Metaverse Interoperability Group. Which is aiming to build an open and interoperable metaverse. Oh, dear. Actually, they agree with me that we should avoid the M word, but unfortunately, it's been in the name since before Zuckerberg was born, I guess. Yeah, it's just a blog. It tells you all about it, but the main thing is it's all 1 year old. And we always meet once a week. Plenty of times a week. I only ever attend the weekly general meeting, but there are so many subgroups on different things, and they all tend to meet on Discord, sometimes in actual worlds, and at different times depending on the whim of their membership, so to speak. There are currently 138 members of the W3C, and it's increasing rapidly. They have their Git repos with hundreds of participants, more on Discord, and it's one lot are working on avatar interoperability, and design and scripting, of course, is a major part of all that, and scripting extensions. This is one Adam's working on a lot, so expanding how 3D art can interact. Collider extensions, physics body extensions. These are all like plugin extensions that aren't necessary for a particular platform. The idea is that they will be there will be things that could be plugged into any number of platforms, that subscribe to the open metaverse concept. The scripting group looking at portability and programmability. And the website storytelling, a whole load more. So basically, one grand first year anniversary for the group there, and a roundup of various stuff on the blog, and also some links you can go to find out, reporting, as it were, on open standards and interop. And how you can join, and blah blah blah, all the rest of it. So as I said, you'll find this at omigroup.org, OMIGROUP.org, and it can't hurt to join. It doesn't cost you anything. As long as you've got a stated interest in the open metaverse and interoperability, basically. And it doesn't matter whether you're an artist, a writer, a builder, whatever. You somewhere in all the groups, the hundreds of groups that make it up, there will be a specific group for your, hopefully for your discipline, shall we say. Anyway, so moving on from that. Okay. Actually, I'm going to cheat at the bottom here. I've just got two things. We don't. If you are in OpenSim, regular event is worth going to on Wednesdays, and we mentioned this a lot on our companion show, the InWorld Review, is Hypergrid Safari. And HG Safari, HGSAFARI.blogspot.com, is a blog run by Thursday Ember. And this is where she reports what's coming up and what's going on. And this basically is looking at the Pangea grid, who are hopefully going to be on our In World Review show before very long. So she's got a nice little article there about Pangea. There's also OpenSim Fest is coming up in July. This is an annual sort of people's get together and show in OpenSim, and it's got its own website and indeed its own grid this year called opensimfest.com. And basically, guess what? Their blog has actually got an interview with there's Remba, who's described as promoter. I don't know. So she keeps finding herself everywhere and doesn't know what's happening. But there you go. It's a short little interview with her. So I thought I'd put those in here if you're interested in OpenSim and the events out here, as it were. Those couple of little links for you there for that. So local community news, should we say? As I say on the BBC, now it's time for the news where you are, which is their way of giving me the London news instead of the national news or the world news. Never mind. Talking to the BBC, they came up with this article in the week. It's called "Why You May Have a Thinking Digital Twin Within a Decade." Yes. Well, this is all down to both avatars, doppelgangers, AIs, and what the hell will this digital twin be? But if you remember last week, I had an article up that was talking about you may be able to raise a virtual child in virtual reality. The idea is you'd create an avatar that grew incrementally in age from a birth point. And had AI sort of learning routines built in and stuff like that. And this it is suggesting, I think rightly so, that this could be perfect for sort of motherless children, for example, who really I already see this in places like Second Life. You get mothers who women who are either beyond childbearing age or just unfortunately have not been able to have them, who actually in somewhere like Second Life with a big community around them, they go through a simulated childbirth sort of thing, and then they raise, the sort of avatar child. Now, it's not run by AI or anything as elegant as that yet, but in the future it certainly will be. And there's the obvious question of, if people go in there to go 9 months of having a virtual baby or whatever, and is it role play or not? And of course the people that mothers who are expecting children can actually run a parallel experience of being pregnant in the virtual world, whereas in the real world they might have difficulty getting hold of a midwife or advice, whereas in the virtual world they can come to a clinic and all that advice is on hand. So it's an enhancement to the existence of being pregnant, but others, of course, are not pregnant in real life. They are just maybe it sounds a bit desperate in a way that if you can't have a child in real life, you have one virtually. But the wonders of technology. If the people are happy and not harming anybody, there's no harm in it really. So the BBC reporting here. We're living in an age where everything that exists in the real world is being replicated digitally. Cities, cars, homes, and even ourselves. And the hugely hyped Metaverse, oh dear, that in word again, right? It plans for a virtual digital world where an avatar of yourself could walk around. And that would be a digital twin. Which wouldn't be limited to humans. It could be animals, buildings, anything really. A digital twin is simply an exact replica of something in the physical world, be it a living thing or a non-living thing really. So you model an exact replica of, say, the city of Toronto in a virtual world, then that city in the virtual world becomes a digital twin of the real Toronto, because the fact it is a model of the real Toronto means it is a replica, a twin. So it could justifiably be called a digital twin. Anyway, the BBC has done its best to round up that. The BBC can be quite good at this kind of thing because their audience is normally people who know nothing about anything. And they, but they,
Oh
you know,
my.
they're sort of seen in Britain anyway. Yeah. Okay. They're seen in Britain here as the kind of authority on everything. People who still watch television, and there are some, always tune in to the BBC at some point in the evening, and probably see the BBC News, if not the BBC News channel.
Yeah.
And they take, you know, it's owned by the state, so in fact it's nothing like as independent as they might, you know, free-thinking radicals that they might like to think they are. But nevertheless, you know, they take what is reported on that sort of thing as verbatim. And there's a BBC program called Click, for example, a half-hour program and short versions throughout the week on the news channel. Just lots of technology and innovation, and you know, they are in a way barometers of what the suburban people all around the country will get to know. You know, they've covered virtual reality and particularly Meta, of course, and a few things like that. But you know, they'll normally look around and look at, say, some apps that have come out during a week, and they'll make their own decision about the ones that are a bit more unique than others, and that they think will be taken up by the masses. So they're not they don't direct their technology news at a technology audience. They are actually trying to piecemeal pick up things that they think will be winners in the technological field, in other words, but you know, as mass market items, you know. Like many years ago, they probably had a prototype mobile phone and said this could be something in the future. You know, nowadays it's rules the world, don't they? Anyway,
No, you're shattering my illusions about the BBC.
Well, no, they're a good broadcaster, and
BBC.
they innovate. I've actually done work for them freelance in the past. You know, I used to get their Quantel paintbox graphics converted into Photoshop files and then converted into the all the icons on the old weather forecast were mine. You know, so you know, and they are. You know, they train people in media and television and things. You know, as part of the license fee they charge, but they are very much living in a bygone age. They need a different economic model. They're no longer allowed to put the subscriptions up. But unfortunately, of course, they're now allowed to sort of semi-commercialize, and it's very annoying when a lot of people like me sort of see quite a lot of money, taxpayers' money, effectively, will have been spent on, say, a quality drama. No complaints there. But then you'll realize they've sold the world rights to it so many times that they've actually made an incredible profit out of it, even though they used public money to create it. You know, it wasn't like a voluntary, you know, crowdfunder. It was, they took public money, they spent it on something quality, but then they resold it and they didn't feed that money back into the BBC public broadcast wing. They feed it back into BBC Enterprises, which is a commercial company that makes money. So it's gotten a bit fake in many ways. And however well they package their propaganda, do remember they are propaganda. Their news channels, especially, are propaganda channels. They even Channel 4, which is a truly independent channel, is you know, has to obey the government when it comes to, you know, you not to report this anymore, or you can only report it a certain way. And that's happened particularly since COVID. It's now happening with the Putin wars. They're not allowed to actually cover things that are now beginning to get delicate, rather than the way they were even a few months ago. You know, I think it was about 1.5 million people caught COVID in Britain last week, but they don't report on it anymore, except as a sideline thing. They, you know, because the message is, the vaccine is around now, so it can't be bad. You won't die from it, but of course you will. You know, it's a change, you know, in what we're known. I mean, I had 2 years of Channel 4 News. The backdrop on the news was a big picture of a virus, rather colourful and psychedelic, actually, rather nice. You don't see it anywhere now. You know, it's sort of, if there is mention of COVID, it's like a little side thing. But by the way, COVID is still around. You know, we lost a couple of million people last week. You know, but what the hell? I don't like that. I don't like. We should still be getting this information. We also need to be getting accurate death figures from the battlegrounds in Ukraine, and you know, not selective. Well, you obviously don't give away official secrets in troop movements and stuff, but suddenly Ukraine is not headline news anymore, even though some of the casualties numbers are actually greater than the ones that made headline news a short while ago. And I will pick, I'll nitpick with the BBC on this, but I also nitpick with my favourite, which is Channel 4 News. It's usually pretty obvious when something that's been in the news for so long suddenly disappears over a couple of days, as if whatever it was has been fixed. But you don't find, there's no big news item saying it was fixed. It just slowly disappears from the news, and it becomes one of the no-go areas. And obviously government propaganda in the case.
Sorry, Mal, I didn't mean to take you down that road.
Well, no, fair enough. I think I'm entitled to go down that road.
All right.
But yeah, and I must admit, pros and cons to the BBC, but they do relatively good reporting and stuff like that. And this is if you want a sort of broad overview of what digital twins are, both human and non-human, and whatever, and the fact that we may all have human twins online within a decade. Whether they're right there, I don't know, but technology does move so fast. But the other real world events I'm mentioning may scupper everything. Maybe bring technology.
Maybe my digital twin could do the switching on the show.
Yes,
on
indeed.
This very program.
Yeah. Or my digital twin will be deliberately made 20 years old and sent into cyberspace war. So the British cyberspace army will conscript me and send my digital twin off to Russia. Who knows?
The future grand.
Yeah, you can't this is hyperblown for me. You can tell, but you can't disregard these things. I always say to people, you think it's impossible, but it ain't. It's happened. You 6 months ago you would say what Putin is doing is impossible. You wouldn't dream of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, don't laugh, as it were. Okay, I'm going to move on because, as you can see, I'm in a section where I can go on a lot. Okay. Okay, the World Economic Forum, I should say, their site's getting a lot on the so-called M-word recently. It's just a website here. It won't convert to the reader mode, but it's worth having a look at anyway. It's the site is weforum.org, so it's World World Economic Forum, you would have it. You'd have to look for the direct link, actually. Well, you can get it from my Twitter feed, of course. So basically, they're talking about the M-words platforms facing diversity, equity, and inclusion challenges, and how those need to be addressed. Now, remember, this is serious stuff, the World Economic Forum. They're interested in the future of economies and business and the way the whole world works, basically. And there's discussions you find here are high level. You can get, government ministers from different countries, leaders from different countries, and specialists. This is where they all meet to discuss things. And we had a couple of videos a couple of weeks ago. I showed bits of where people like Philip Rosedale and the woman, I forget her name, from Magic Leap. Were actually on panels there, so been taken quite seriously, pulled in basically as the experts because they've got 10, 20 years experience, and suddenly the World Economic Forum wants to know that experience. So, they did actually announce themselves an initiative to build an equitable, interoperable, and safe metaverse. So all the movements towards something a bit like the web, which will interoperate. And I think they also see this interoperability as a kind of safeguard, because if things don't interoperate and don't connect to each other, they're going to administer them, whether legally or just bureaucratically, it's going to be a nightmare. Where at the moment they can administer things based on the fact that they're things that are on the web. Right. Obviously, in the future, they're going to want to be able to do things that they do now to control the web to a future metaverse. So the things that link together and have commonality are obviously a lot more manageable. I'm not talking about taking them over and, putting, sure, China will have one set of laws, Russia will have no no logical laws at all, and the rest of the world might have different laws entirely. But by and large, you just sort of keep it open. But if it's not open, it's just going to be a nightmare to control. Or if it's not open, it won't either, and but that will also impede its growth. And all this stuff is very much part of the future. Anyway, I'm going to rabbit hole again. So weforum.org for this article, and quite a lot in there, including some videos and things that I would not have shown already, very specific ones. Right, so remove that item, and moving up the list. This is a post at medium.com. If I've got it here, it's probably not one that's behind a paywall, so you should be able to get to it. It's some comment really on the metaverse has the potential to answer world poverty. And let's see. Okay. Well, I'm not going to read it out. As you can see, it's not that long, but it's a short article about the way an interconnected virtual world could help world poverty. It could also do the exact opposite, I hasten to add. So swings and roundabouts here. All I know is that this is at medium.com, medium, but that's a very big site these days. So again, you need to go to twitter.com Mal Burns to get the direct link to get to that one, I think. Right. Okay, this is a site, interesting. This is called opensource.com. Now, this isn't open source worlds or anything like that. It's just open source com. And, oh dear. Okay, there was an article here. And actually, it's done exactly what I don't like it doing to you lot when you follow my links. It's taken you to the top page, and I don't know what the article here was. I'm going to look under gaming, which has to be the best category. Oh no, that's not. Okay, I can't tell you what was here. It was a post of relevance to us, I say, or certainly to me, but the exact page has not been recorded. It's just given my the home site there. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's it. Right. Yeah, this is Liv Erickson, 14th of June. Yeah. Okay. Building the metaverse with open source. So she's got this, this is opensource.com, which of course is not just the metaverse, it's anything to do with open source software and code. But Liz has sort of rounded it up here. Again, using the M word, but so that she says it's being thrown around a lot these days. And but she's been involved in quite a lot, so she can use the royal we and sort of describe what she's done and how to do it the open source way, and Kronos, and well, she covers the gamut here really. I think I should check this. I know I posted this on Omi's site. Whether it actually mentions Omi, I'm not quite sure, but a lot of the A-frame, Babylon, these are all things that I know are discussed in the open sim world. Anyway, yeah, so and then what to read next? How to build an open source metaverse. So there's somebody else there. Right, okay, so as I say, I can't let's just have a quickie look here. We will be see if that did anything. I haven't got many plugins in Safari here, so I'm not entirely sure. It didn't seem to do anything then, did it? Okay, tweet this, Earl. Okay, you're seeing this publicly, but I think it's worth making sure it's there. Ah, very good, very good. Oh, wait, shit. God. Okay, this is Metaworld News's Twitter feed. Okay, so it will be there, not on the Mal Burns one. But this link will take you to the full article. So I'm going to retweet it now as a bonus. That will actually take you to the very thing you're looking for. And yeah, okay. So I'm distracted again now. Let me try and get rid of that. There we are, back to where we should be. Okay, so great, interesting article, especially if you're following OMI and all the open source stuff as well. Right, remove that. Moving up, now we saw a video from them, of course, at the top of the show. This is an article talking about it. This is at roadtovr.com, roadtovr.com. And again, it's looking at Engage, revealing the first look at their Link Metaverse platform that we saw the video introduction to at the top of the show. This is the written. Oh, there it is again. Yeah, so you can play it from here if you want. Okay, so yeah, it's just a roundup of the press release basically, and another way of looking at the same video we showed you ourselves earlier. Moving on to theconversation.com, theconversation.com. And they make a point of saying how we describe the M word makes a difference. Today's words could shape tomorrow's reality, and who benefits from it. Yeah, exactly. So if we use the word metaverse, who benefits from it? Why? The God Emperor Azuki, of course. Who else? In a roundabout sort of way. Even though he's losing money like mad. Right. A bit of a history there and stuff. And, talking about, how should we refer to it? Sort of, I don't know. There's so many parts of what the M word includes that, you can use. You can use things like virtual homesteading and all sorts of expressions that have been used in the past, which, thanks to Lord Zuckerberg, things are all being now incorporated into Metaverse, the name. But then again, I've spent 6 months trying to avoid my searches for Metaverse because endless. It's all from financial sites, to do with blockchain and coin telegraphs and crypto, but also blockchain mechanisms and stuff like that. And all the crypto, especially, is just all collapsing. And the blockchain is not in that healthiest site either because they've tried to include too much in it. So whether those things are even around in a year's time to really consider an important part of any M-verse, we don't really know yet. So it's all about interpretation and how we approach it, really. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, what's important and what's not, then this is Tom Bolstolf, who's been in Second Life for many years. He's he studies cultures. God, what's the name? What's the name of what he's known as? Anthropologist. That's just the thing. And he's actually done a couple of machinima films with the virtual filmmaker Draxler Debray. Major films. So he certainly knows what he's talking about. So you'll find this at theconversation.com, theconversation.com. I think I did an interview with him once, actually. It's quite interesting. Right. This is the News Stack IO. So THENEWSTACK.io. And this again, we're back on topic, how the open metaverse will transform our online identities. So they're comparing, you hear the word metaverse now, and you probably think you're Meta, in other words, Emperor Zuki, or something like Fortnite or Roblox, which are essentially just gaming platforms. But there's also a groundswell of open metaverse projects on the internet, and I'm reading here. I knew this already. You knew this already because I've told you 1,000 times. Yeah. And some of the Web3 ecosystem as well. So they'd argued that the open metaverse is actually where the future of the internet, not the web, the internet is really being built. And so they're going on to here. They include our Discord server for OMI that I mentioned earlier, the Open Metaverse Interoperator Group, which is focused on bridging virtual worlds by designing and promoting protocols for identity, social graphs, inventory, and more. And they've also formed the W3C community group in order to help structure standards work and provide ourselves a proper IP protection framework. And Jin is there almost always on the weekly meetings. They talk about him. And yeah, good, interesting article for you to read here. And yeah, do make a note of this one, because this is not a site that I've come across that often, actually. It's the new Stack.io, THENEWSTACK.io. But you will always, of course, be able to click through to this from my Twitter feed, at least from the one in last week. Okay, moving on up, and we're coming to Forbes.com. And guess what? This is not Charlie Fink. it's another. It's Forrester, actually, that they're quoting here. It's basically a roundup of Forbes from Forrester about the key takeaways from all 2022, which Augmented Reality Expo, which happened last week, and why the metaverse, cough cough, must be deeply human-centric. I couldn't put it better myself, actually. Just use the M word, though, please. Yeah, so again, human-centric is an important part of the future of virtual worlds and stuff like that. You know, it can't just be data-driven or logarithm-driven. It has to be pretty human-centric, really. So you'll find this at Forbes.com, FORBES.com, and on Twitter the link will take you to this exact article. So that's good there. Oops, I'm forgetting to remove the ones I've already done. Let's get that tidied up a little bit. Oh, well, that one. Okay, getting near the end here. That's good. Okay, now you probably know that the Apple show a week or so ago announced a new iOS operating system for iPads, another new operating system for iPhones, and also the Mac desktop. And for the very latest iPads, they've introduced something called Stage Manager. Now, I was tempted to download the public beta so that I could try it out, but then I thought I better not. But it basically converts the modern iPad, the M1 iPad Pro, into something that pretty closely resembles a Mac desktop. So you know, a bit like having a proper laptop in front of you, although I always think it always has been. But what there's also hidden in the background here is there's an API, which is something developers can use to integrate parts of the Apple system into their own programs. It's called Room Plan, and basically, they didn't actually cover this at their conference thing, as if they were trying to hide it. But OS 16 has definitely got it in it because people have found it when it comes to AR kits and related technologies. And one of the technologies is something called Room Plan, which is a new API. API means Application Protocol Interface, or something very close to that. And it uses LiDAR scanning to quickly create 3D floor plans. And apps using iPhone and iPad camera aren't exactly new, but they aren't exactly accurate either. In other words, you can use photos and mock up a floor plan and stuff like that. But the LiDAR scanner, which is in the iPad Pro now and iPhone 12 onwards Pro, it's actually easier to detect the actual true dimensions of objects more accurately. For those unfamiliar, LiDAR is a technology that emits lasers and calculates the time it takes for the light to return to the sensor in order to precisely measure the distance between the device and the objects. As such, a LiDAR scanner is able to detect dimensions and even the shape of an object or indoor environment, it being either an object per se or a limited size indoor environment, it's up to all the walls and doors. So you can, just do a circular motion with your iPhone and go up and down a little bit, and it's got all the data it needs to model the room pretty accurately. LiDAR is actually, of course, the name is connected to radar, which of course the R in radar is for radio, whereas the L in LiDAR is for light. But both technologies are developed from one technology and then use the technology that's there, in other words, scanning light, and use the bounce back technique, to measure distance. So, radar can detect an aircraft simply because a radio signal goes out to it, and if there's a ship or plane in the way of the signal bounces back from the surface of the enemy or whatever it is, and they can't tell necessarily. They might have radar of their own and they can see you, but that doesn't matter. So it's had military uses for using sonar too underwater, using bounce back technology. So LiDAR is really opening up a whole new dimension in sort of display technologies, as well as scanning technologies, of course. So anyway, people have got rather excited having discovered under the surface, hey, Apple can do this, but they didn't advertise it. But it's there apparently in the hidden in the various facilities in the camera settings in the new iOS 16, which only installs, by the way, on iPhone Pro 12 or 13 or the M1 iPad. But interesting nonetheless. I can't wait to. I've been out quite a lot this week, and I took my phone with me to take photos and stuff. And of course, I keep forgetting it's in my pocket. I'm just never. You get back and you think, oh shit, why didn't I take my phone out and take some photos? And But I look forward to seeing what some of the things that it can do when I've got used to the fact that it can do it, and I can therefore. Right, stop blabbering, Mal. Okay. Talking of Apple, this is a site called imore.com, imore.com, and we had a post last week saying that the conference from Apple did not include anything about AR, but in fact it did include lots of it in plain sight. But it was actually in plain sight to think about other things that would actually impact on AR, and particularly like the aforementioned Stage Manager thing, which only works on i1 pads. I mean, the way that has been designed, it makes you think, God, this will be good in a pair of glasses. And guess what? They work on that too. They just haven't told us the connection yet. So Apple's experimenting with ideas, and one of the ideas is wearable finger controllers. And they reckon this is good because the design leaves the fingertips free for use with touchscreens, because we got so used to using our fingers on touchscreens. We don't want to lose that, right? So the finger controllers, they go on as like thimbles, except they're like little loops that you put your finger in. So your fingertips are still free, but further down your finger are the sensors that would allow you to control things like in augmented reality or VR. So the problem is if you've got the glove for VR, you can no longer use any touchpad controls because your fingers are covered up. So Apple really do sort of tend to think of these things, whereas other people would just go and bring the gloves out and think, oh yes, you mean awkward. Anyway, so they have a patent on this. So that's a lot of stuff you hear from Apple is often rumor, and even people pretend they've got projections. And I don't know they're going to use this. Of course, we don't. It's not a rumor that they're going to do something with this, but they have actually pointed out that they have a patent for something that nobody else seems to have thought of, and therefore could be bloody useful, if you see what I mean. So we don't know for sure they're going to bring out Apple fingers, or I don't know what they're going to call them even, but there they are. They have the patent for it. Okay, moving up the thingy here, and we come to This Week in XR. This is Forbes again, and it's Charlie Fink's regular weekly roundup. He covers things that I don't really like. Blipper, be partnered with Microsoft Teams. Engage, I covered already here. And the All Wrap Up I covered. Pico introducing a consumer headset in the US. Their present one has been enterprise level stuff, really. Tribeca Film Festival, of course, and a load of stuff here. So very much a roundup. Stuff here that I don't include, and other stuff I'm surprised he doesn't include, but you know. So you'll find that at Forbes.com, Forbes.com. But if you actually want the Week in XR itself, the link to that, then you need to go to that via my Twitter feed, which is, of course, is twitter.com/Mal Burns, MALBUNS. Right, Frontiers in. I've had some things from this site in the past, actually. Boundaries reduce disorientation in virtual reality. Again, a bit of an essay, really. Frontiers in, or Frontiers, I think it must be Frontiers in. FRONTIERS, and then IN, but they're squashed together as one word. For some reason, I always read this as Frontier Sin. Go figure, one of those odd ones anyway. So that's frontiersin.org. And introduction. It's just reading material here, really. But as I say, it's you always have to look at the pros and cons of new technology and things. And virtual reality can make people dizzy, especially if they're in heavy helmets or headsets or any. I even get annoyed with the weight of conventional headphones after about an hour. I just can't wait to get out of them. So you've got to account for disorientation and things like that. And the theory here actually is that you're doing an imitation of physical walking. And small virtual environments, with defined edges rather than whole worlds, you can obviously walk through them, but also boundaries. What they're talking about here is that like physical boundaries, where they're not really simulated physical boundaries, can actually reduce disorientation. So if you get, is it agoraphobia, when you get with vast open spaces? Well, if you've got something like a wall and a way through the wall, or out of a house through a door, those boundaries and the implicit method by which you move through that boundary to the next area actually helps reduce disorientation. Whereas if that door or wall wasn't there and you just saw the wide open space, your mind could get disorientated because, if you've ever looked at a flat plane, with no hills, no markings or anything like that, you never know how far away that horizon is. Because there's no identifying factors between you and the horizon. And you need to have those identifying factors. Now, if you're on planet Earth, I don't know where there is anything that flat. We know we have the curvature of the Earth, so we can actually measure where how far the horizon is, depending on our own height. Our line of eyesight. But even so, some people can get really disorientated there, and I'm the other way around. I get disorientated with heights, and it doesn't matter if it's in a virtual world. I look over a cliff, and that's looking over a cliff, and I do not want to go down there, thank you. And I don't want my avatar trying it either. It's just something psychological, and all sorts of distance and things comes into this. So there's always, it's a bit like disability facilities for disabled people, which are very commonplace in the real world these days, thank goodness. But a lot of people say, "Oh, you've got to have that in the virtual world," and the guy in the wheelchair says, "No, I want to have a wheelchair in the virtual world so that people know I'm disabled, and you have to build me a ramp to get up into wherever I'm going." And other people say, "Well, I'm a wheelchair user. I'm restricted in real life. I want to be free in the virtual world of that limitation." So depending on the person, the attitude is different. But when you're designing things, you really have to take all this myriad of things into account. Nobody will get it all right all the time. But the last thing you want to do is build an interoperable, vast virtual world, and then suddenly find that the United Nations or something comes along and changes the law, saying you've got to change all these worlds to make them disoriented, people friendly. Could happen. So, I shut myself up sometimes, haven't I? Do go on a bit. Right. Okay, we're near the end of the links anyway. This is another one that won't convert in reader mode, but basically I followed this quite a lot. It's called the Art Newspaper. And this particular feature in the week, why virtual reality is a medium still in need of cradling. Artists and developers using VR have made huge leaps. And remember, this is about artists, really, and interactive art. But a better user experience is long overdue. So it's, well, a lot of these things, like they're citing one word, the Serpentine Gallery just up the road from me here in London, sort of oh, sorry, that's just him saying which ones he's seen. But the idea is, sort of I think some of these things they're doing in real world VR, as it were, are pretty amazing. But they are saying that it needs to be improved. Art is no game. Few doubt that once the cradling is done, VR provides a rich, diverse art experience. And etc. If you're an artist, put it that way, working in virtual worlds or indeed real world virtuality, if you would like immersive installations, good little read for you here in particular. So you'll find this at theartnewspaper.com, theartnewspaper.com, and the exact link, of course, will be on my Twitter feed. Right, the Dean Beat. This is Dean Takahashi at venturebeat.com. And the other big news this week, actually, I think it was actually only this week, we already knew that Neil Stephenson was getting interested in a metaverse company. The interesting that came along, it's called Lamina One, and he's got together with people are saying they don't quite understand why. He's got together with a crypto engineer called Peter Vesens. Anyway, they're launching Lamina One, which again is it's got blockchain in it and everything. So the idea is it is an open metaverse, and it's being approved by people like Tim Sweeney of Epic Games, which is also trying to promote the open metaverse, or so they say. But I'm just scanning down here because I may have preempted this. Right. Okay, so this is Dean Takahashi's take on this. But what it doesn't tell us is the news from later in the week. We have Neil Stephenson, and we have this chap whose name I've forgotten already. What was it? I just gave you his name. But Tony Perazzi has joined them. So they're now a trio. And for Tony Perazzi to be joining the group, so to speak, that is the big news. I mean, he's a pioneer in virtual worlds. He goes way back. Fear Rosedale describes Tony Perazzi as one of his heroes, who a guiding light from his early life, and he knows what he's doing. I mean, he was, until recently, he was with Unity, and he left Unity only a couple of weeks ago, if I've got my dates right. But anyway, he is now joined up with this new company, Lamina One, to work on their virtual world. And Neil Stephenson himself is stopping writing altogether for a year, so he can devote his full-time energies to this project. So it's odd that it's quite interesting that the writer who created the M word that Zuckerberg has now stolen should step out of the books and get involved in bringing about something a bit like the real thing he was writing about. Very interesting. We live in strange times, right? Okay. Metaverse Musings with Alvin Van Gray at AWN. Right. Alvin Wang Graylin is the president of HTC in China, and he talks about building the metaverse's third wave. It's very odd. He's a good guy, and he's got some good perceptions on this. Unfortunately, and that's where my graphic from earlier came from. Right, now I remember. Okay. Interesting graphic on Free Faces and Metaverse Development. All this is very good, right? And, it's quite an interview. It's got everything essential in it, so it's a good thing. But I think they maybe cover it near the end. About the Chinaverse. He reckons that in a few years we'll see a highly advanced regional Chinese metaverse. So it's a bit like Chinese internet. You can't get in or out of China beyond their firewall, especially if you like to mention topics or like politics, not just radical, but any politics you can't talk about. You can't talk about it in the street there too, so certainly you can't talk about it on the web. However the metaverse pans out as a global phenomenon, like the internet, it will be like the internet in China. They'll chop half of it off and keep the rest as a Chinese internet kind of thing. And they'll do the same with the metaverse. A Chinese metaverse will use Chinese currency, Chinese crypto, and Chinese policies, as politics. And it's likely to achieve critical mass very fast, given the population advantage. But it won't be a global metaverse per se. So he does actually look at these things. I find it rather interesting that, HTC at the moment are very much a global player, but they are a Chinese company. And if China starts becoming more insular and putting more protectionism in place, you do tend to wonder what might happen to some of these Chinese companies. They're too big and worth so much, they're not just going to be given away the permission to move to America or somewhere. One is watching China as much as we're watching the Chinese metaverse, so to speak. But anyway, a really interesting interview, and we're not at that point of complete departure from each other at the moment. So very pertinent points being raised. And finally, from the web page's point of view, this one came in today. Rochdale is a town up in Yorkshire in the UK here. And this article was Rochdale Online UK, ROCHDALEONLINE.co.uk. And it's one of these, I don't know how to explain it, but this town has a reputation not so much youth violence and stuff like that. Some people probably rightly described it as the pedo capital of the UK, I think they called it. As in paedophiles. It really has a bad reputation. That whole county does actually, but Rochdale in particular. Fortunately, most of the problems are in the past. But there's hard to know. People go underground when the law goes down on them. But this isn't actually the case with this particular article. But they're actually using virtual reality technology on kids. Basically, the main idea is to stop kids using knives in any kind of knife-related violence, because apparently it's endemic there. Greater Manchester is the hub of a lot of this stuff, but they use the VR stuff to help youth make the right decisions. And anyway, it's been successful in Greater Manchester, so it's now being rolled out across the whole region, which I presume means Yorkshire. And who knows, if it's successful, maybe it's spread around the rest of the country. Declaration of interest, really. Andy Burnham, the mayor of Greater Manchester, has been quite well known for his arguments, shall we say, with Boris Johnson of late. He's quoted there and sort of saying, they hope they can tackle it and spread it and stuff like that. So, they doesn't say anything. I presume they've been given funding like this from some authority, but I don't know what. But anyway, very interesting. It's just another example of how virtual reality it's not just a niche thing. It can now be used in the real world in possibly therapeutic ways, to make the right decisions to avoid violence and stuff. I think it's Halting State or one of those novels and VR novels that came out, which of course does actually set the prison system of the future in virtual reality. In other words, when prisoners go into their cells, for having done whatever they've done, they're then shifted into, they're put on a bed and put a headset and body costume on, and they live in virtual reality for the rest of their sentence. And depending on the kind of thing that they've been convicted of, if it's a minor sort of crime, then they get a fairly pleasant virtual world to escape into. Not easy, but to occupy their mind, so to speak, and teach them things. But the really nasty criminals actually are thrown into a virtual world, which in itself is like a nightmare. Based on the idea that they need to be in a virtual world, which is like a continuous punishment. It's like the heaven and hell story in religion. You're going to go to hell because the hellfires will burn and roast you, and you won't burn up, of course, because they're going to do it for eternity. But that kind of thing. So that's how the fiction writers sometimes cover it. Okay, so that's it for the main links here, and I've got one final link to open, but of course the link itself is my Mastodon feed, which all the items on my Mastodon feed, which is coming up here, do get relayed to my Twitter feed. So you're seeing all these on my Twitter feed as embedded videos from the web during the week. I'm just going to go down them quickly because we're at 90 minutes, which is good job. It's like a double show this week because we haven't got any other show to follow. 52 definitions of virtual reality. Yeah. Oh, yes.
In his book, The Dawn of the New Everything.
Right, Dawn of... right, I've forgotten it. Basically, it's giving a review of a book here. There we are, got rid of it. The Dawn of the New Everything. So he's basically giving a review of something that is a summary of things. Anyway, it's a 30-minute...
Jaron Lanier, who is often called the father of virtual reality, takes a look back at his life as a VR entrepreneur in Silicon Valley in the 1980s. Lanier founded VPL Research, the first VR company to ever exist.
These are the special glasses called the iPhones you're seeing inside an imaginary world.
Luckily for us, he wasn't a nerdy, average tech guy that was only...
I like the way he calls those contraptions iPhones back in the 70s. That's a
interested in ones and zeros. Lanier was an artist and a philosopher. Throughout this book, he delivers 52 unconventional definitions of immersive virtual reality. And in this video, I will present each one of them and discuss how Lanier's ideas can help us to imagine the true potential of virtual reality.
And there you go. You're going to have to watch it. 30 minutes of it. If you want to go through each of those in turn. Yeah, he's been around quite a bit. He was in a year or two ago. I went to a thing with him in Science Space. If he ever appears in World anyway to do something, you can be sure that world will be packed out. So one of the biggest names you could have really at an event to do with virtual reality. Okay, moving down, we have, of course, the video version of This Week in XR. And there are actually two this week. We have the main one, which is with Justin Barat, who's the founder of Also VR. And then they had a special one talking about the new Lamina One thing I was talking about myself a minute ago with basically Neil Stevenson, Peter Vassens, and they haven't got they haven't got a thingy in there yet, but that was quite, it was a bit like their normal one. Hello, I'm Tony Veek.
Which predicted, among other things, the metaverse. Welcome, Neil. Welcome, Peter. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Let's talk about Lamina One. Lamina One, excuse me.
Yeah, that's Neil Stevenson.
It's okay.
So close. I like Lumina One though too. We might rebrand. It's possible.
Okay, this is 45 minutes basically, so it's an interview about the launch of Lamina One. I can't remember. I think a lot of this has been recorded about the time of war, which was also before Tony Perazzi let on that he was going to be part of it too. The other one above here is just the regular weekly podcast, you know, with somebody from Osso VR as the guest. Moving down between realities, guest this week, Friday I think this was Virtual Strangers. This is quite interesting. I keep clicking just to try and remember. Oh, it has a long introduction, this damn thing. You know, the introduction plays for half an hour, and if you look, you can see all the people in the chat at YouTube or wherever talking away, even though they're not even on air. That's life, isn't it? But they get there in the end.
For you?
Yes. Yes. This week was a little tough, but good at the same time. Not bad, just a lot.
Man, I took this.
Okay, I'm waiting for the curtain at the back to come down. There it is. So hopefully we can find out just a little bit more.
Guests today.
We do have guests,
and typically these are people who we might even see in this chat on a normal episode Between Realities, which is pretty exciting.
Which is great.
Yeah, our guests today have their own show called Virtual Strangers, and it's probably the show that I see more than any other show, honestly, in the VR.
I haven't dug this up, by the way, yet. But I thought I did.
Oops, here they are. It's Wes and Roots. Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, Alex? What's up, Skiba? What's up, Roots? How's everybody doing?
I'm doing good. It's Friday. I was looking forward to the weekend big time for a lot of reasons, but...
Okay, well, those are the guests. It's an hour and 5 minutes of it, so you could just getting a glimpse here. I will try and look up Virtual Strangers themselves. I remember meaning to make a point of that. There's no indication. They have their own show, but it's not. I'm not entirely sure whether it's an audio podcast that they have or video. And of course, I'm assuming it's on Vimeo or YouTube if it is video, but I'll investigate more. So that's interesting. Now we have a load of these, right? These are from USA, which was not last week, the week before. These are my selection of the panels. I started selecting them and then jumping down a few to the more interesting ones, and eventually I sort of just skimmed down the whole list and just picked the best ones because it would have taken me 2 days to post them all individually. There's that many. You can obviously find everything at All Live in Replay, so that's AWE.LIVE on HTTP, etc. But all you need is All Live. The evolving role of social experiences in location-based. How developers are building real-world metaverse with Lightship. Where are we? Immersive storytelling for impact. I have a few more on Discord, actually. I think I actually stopped at 3 or 4 here. Yeah, okay. And then before that, of course, I think James may have seen this. I don't know. 4 days ago, the VR download.
Yep.
Pico coming to the USA, of course. Just as the other thing it's going to do. Well, what do you think? Anything exciting on that show?
One of the programs, and I'm not recalling correctly, but they were talking about one of the newer lighter headsets. And actually they mentioned that the headset has the ability for the lenses to go opaque. So it's an AR headset, but it can go into VR by making the lenses opaque, which we've talked about for a long time, but I don't recall correctly if that was the Pico or if it was the I thought it was the Nreal, but I was reviewing the pages and I couldn't see that. I have no evidence for that recollection.
That's a bloody good point. I remember some mention of that during the week too, and I can't. Well, I think it was last week, and I can't remember what program it was on, or maybe it's something written down, a written review. I think, I don't think the Nreal Lite can go fully opaque, but what captured me more was the technique by which it was able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has to do with projection into your eye, which when switched off means nothing comes into your eye. So it becomes opaque, and then you can render stuff onto the opaque canvas, so to speak. But then, you know, the adjustments can be made to let more through from the cameras to your eye, and that can either be total reality or it can be an augmented reality.
Right.
But it's not in the lens. It's in sort of like mini projectors that point at your eye. But I think that's how it's done.
But that's a big that's something we've been keeping our eye out for.
Oh,
That
sure.
ability for one very light headset to do VR and AR.
Yeah. And I think with the Unreal Light, at least I hope it was that, not another one. But there was a picture. I should have kept it to show on our picture. Well, we didn't do a picture feed today. But it actually showed, it said, you know, can you spot the cameras?
Yeah.
And they're like tiny little pinpricks.
Tiny, yep.
On the lens at the very bottom. And you could think, well, those are powerful cameras, and they're, you know, you could stick a needle where the little tip is.
Yeah.
You know, that's cameras facing out in front of your eyes, but it's like one of those fine meshes. You know how you've got net curtains, you can always see through them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a bit, you know, screen effect, you know.
Yep.
But the mesh itself doesn't just obstruct your seeing through. So if the mesh, it's like resolution. If the mesh is so microscopic that, you know, it's like you're smaller than the size of pixels, as it were, then your eyes don't see it. So you appear to be looking through something, but in fact there is a mesh there. And technically, if it's microscopic enough but powerful enough, the mesh can then be turned into opaque. If you see what I mean. So suddenly the mesh that you can't see is blocking your view.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just a matter of all these technologies which will get cheapest first.
Right.
To afford. You know, will Apple come up with something where they can, you know, it would be costly to buy it, but will it be affordable to put in the product?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or will something else come along that's going to, you know, work? You know. But yeah, the Unreal Lights. I'm just pissed off they don't work with my iPhone. I'd have bought them last week if they had. I was sort of gripping there, you know, sort of September before.
I think it was in this program, or else they had the fellows from Beyond Realities on, but they were also talking about the LiDAR in iPhones being able to generate avatars.
Yeah.
So that was exciting too.
That's what I hadn't actually occurred to me that directly, but yeah, in the same way that, you know, I can move my iPhone around the room,
right,
and get bounce back signals to, you know, I can point it at like a city over there, you know, couch, whatever you call it, and because of the bounce back signals, it will know where the furthest point is and where the nearest point is, and it will detect the dimensions from that. But who's to say? I just don't get a friend to stand in the middle of the room.
Yep, and that actually was the Beyond Reality reporters who went to the show, and they actually tried the iPhone LiDAR, and they generated really good looking avatars very quickly. Oh, you know, the other exciting thing that they covered was, you know, these what are they called? They're very photorealistic looking avatars. And again, the iPhone LiDAR can generate those so quickly.
Right, no, not Ready Player. Apparently, Meta's avatars can be.
Yeah, they're. Yep, I think those are the ones they were referring to. But the iPhone could generate them for Meta, which would be, ironic to say the least, right?
Yeah, I wasn't going to actually mention this, but when I was on some Zoom calls in the week. Well, actually, really only one. I mean, I was chickened out going to a live event 2 days in a row, so I agreed to appear on Zoom. And I had my psychedelic background, and I had my remote me avatar, which was made quite a long while ago from photographs of me, and it looks like it looks like me rather than than the avatar I've got, and the mouth is constantly flapping because you can't control that. So there's this avatar that looks like me, very uncanny valley against a psychedelic background, which went that offset the realism. So it didn't freak people out too much, and I ended up swapping to the real world picture of me as well, but against the same background. But we were talking about comic books on this thing actually, and it occurred to me that because that remote me had taken a couple of photographs of my face and made a very convincing avatar out of it, if instead of feeding it in photographs, I was to feed it in a highly detailed portrait of a comic book character, right? It could possibly make an automatic avatar of the comic book character.
Sure. Yep.
And I could then make, and then support characters and stuff, I could then make a fully fledged comic book using those characters in a virtual world. And I remember thinking of this quite a long while ago and meeting it to a couple of people, and it's I don't really, I haven't got time to play games. But yeah, this thought resurfaced during the week, especially as I'm now remote facing things. It took a couple of seconds to make, Yep. And obviously I'd be talking about doing something with getting permission from copyright trademark holders on the particular characters, but there may be possibilities there that I hadn't even thought of. I've often thought of making a comic book in a virtual world. Instead of painting every panel, just getting avatars and landscapes and posing them and telling the story. But if those avatars actually had likenesses to ones that people have already seen in print, that could be a plus point. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. It doesn't exist yet.
Right,
Give away the idea. Give away the idea, but people won't know who I'm talking about anyway yet. So, right. Okay, down the list here, 4 days ago, there was also the welcome keynote, Making Dreams Come True, for more. That was Ori Embar, the founder. The beginning there is, well, last year he came on and he was dressed up. He had a head thing on, which was Max Headroom, the old. You remember Max Headroom from the old?
Oh yeah, yep. I liked that show. Yep.
So he came on and he delivered the beginning of his keynote as Max Headroom, to get a laugh. Well, this year he didn't have anything on himself, but he launched an app, right? And it's an app that can sense your body movements in VR, right? And you can play air guitar, but you actually the music comes out. So it don't say air guitar, it sort of generates music. So he came on stage playing air guitar, which if air guitar is people who pose pose as rock stars, but don't actually have anything in their hand, and they go with their hands. Well, the app actually interpreted this and produced music. So he came on stage. He came on stage playing a kind of real air guitar. So that was his gimmick for this week. But anyway, he did his introduction as per usual. Okay, 5 days ago, another sort of Zoomy cast these people did. It was episode 8 of Ed Catmull on the Metaverse. Another interesting talk. That's the reason things end up on this feed. They're not necessarily. This was the Open Metaverse podcast. I think it's. I think this is one that gets more views as a audio podcast, but they do film it as well. So, good stuff. So I put it on, and we were just talking about them. Of course, we have Between Realities, and what's the date? Oh no, hang on. This was 10th of June. So, right. So we had it. That was the last one. We had another one near the top here, didn't we? Yeah, Between Realities. There it was. Right. Okay. So that may be the one. They were talking to guests, virtual strangers, which I've got to. Yeah, it'd be interesting to figure out who was. There's so many of these now. You keep forgetting who was talking where. Was it on this show, or was it on that show, or whatever? And don't even know what the hell happened then. My screen just refreshed itself at a magnified, what's it? Okay, well, I'll put that out of the way for now because we don't really want it. So, this is a point where I can turn to you, James, and say, well, what do you think? What do you think of that, lot?
Well, I thought it was great.
Any particular thoughts on anything we covered there or whatever?
No, I don't have anything to add, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think with that we will close the show until another week. Hopefully, we'll be maybe you like the longer versions. You know, sort of we have an odd thing here because we have a commitment to we're doing a new season of something called the InWorld Review, and we normally start an hour after this. So it means the news reporting tends to be limited to 45, 50 minutes at the most. As you probably noticed, the way I rush through things sometimes. But when we have a week off from the other show, then it means we can bring you a slightly longer show here, which is it's nice. Sort of can be a bit more leisurely about it. And you can get me in the rabbit hole at least 5 times an hour. You know,
5 times.
What,
right?
what more can you want? Mal in the rabbit hole 5 times an hour. Indeed. And well, I've got a bunny rabbit here. What I've got to do is follow him. That's where you go. You won't go down the rabbit hole. It's too busy attending to the pussycat. Oh, I don't know. Come on, bunny, get down the rabbit hole. Yeah. I'll have to make him a rabbit hole. Believe it or not, I have agreed, and in my inventory there, I do actually have a rabbit hole. You have to make a space. You have to have an artificial land and a hole in it. And then you raise this mesh thing on top of the hole. And the animation lets the rabbit go down the hole. For real, it doesn't just disappear. It actually pulls it down. It's through the mesh cover into the actual hole under the ground. And then a couple of minutes, the script, then it pops up again.
Nice.
So actually, it's a genuine hole thing. Rather than some kind of disappears and then reappears kind of thing. Anyway, that's it for now. So, thanks to James, of course, and thanks to me. Got to say it, haven't I? Right. Adios until next week. Hope you've all enjoyed the show, all the news that fits, so to speak. And we'll be back same time, same place next week, possibly with a shorter show. Otherwise, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
In other words, it's goodbye from the two of us, because when it comes to XR and MR and AR and all the rest of the shit, it's actually a case of we are. Yeah.
I cannot go as high.
You don't need a match to getting high. You just got to come up with a W.
Wait till it gets to my frequencies, right?
Oh, fair enough, yeah. Oh, I think we're on a close enough frequency as a rule. Right. Double meaning there. Right. Okay. So, thanks, everybody. We wish you all a very good week. Stay safe. Stay away from that nasty spiky thing that you can't see, which is still around all over the place. And, there's what's it called? It's a monkey pox or something. Yeah, there's a few other, there's a few other things roaming around too now. And on top of which, there's always Putin. What more can you ask for? What a wonderful! We go out to frames of what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world! Bang! Right. Okay. So stay safe, everybody. We will see you next week. Bye for now.